Hey guys, welcome to Charcoal King. This is probably going to be one of my most controversial videos I think I'm ever going to make. Why, you ask? I put barbecue sauce on my ribeyes. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so this is going to be a two-part segment. It's really easy to cook a steak, and it's really easy to mess up a steak. But it's also really easy to buy the wrong steak at the grocery store. And I'm going to show you some slides through this video to show you what to look for when you're at just a regular grocery store looking for a good cut of meat. What do I mean by that? It's all about the fat.
It's all about the fat. Now look, these ribeyes were on sale for $5.99 at my local grocery store. And I can tell you right now, this is not what you want to buy. As you can see through this picture, there is absolutely no fat through this. And for them to call this choice just goes to show you that us as consumers have to be careful on what we're purchasing. Now if you notice this is a well-marbled ribeye. This is what you're looking for. This ribeye was sold at the same price as the other ribeye was sold for. And you can tell how much more fat and marbling this has versus the other one. This is what you need to buy. Because fat is flavor. And I'm not talking about the chunky fats that the arrow's pointing to. I'm talking about the very small fat lines that run through the meat. When this ribeye is cooked on the flame, this is what melts and this is what gives your ribeye flavor. Now this is just another example. Now this is a porterhouse. You can see because the fillet is so large. We won't get into detail, but that's the truth. But you can see that this thing is well marbled, very heavy, and this is exactly what you're looking for when you're going to the grocery store. All right, guys, last one I promise. Now, these are sirloins, probably a very, very common piece of meat throughout the grocery stores. I was lucky enough to find a prime, and for $5.99 a pound, you heard me, $5.99 a pound for prime sirloin, you can see how well marbled this is. So don't tell me you have to spend an arm and a leg at the grocery store when you're trying to purchase beef. The difference is buying the beef when it looks this good.
There's prime, choice, and select. And that's basically our three options. So this is what I have for you today. This is a choice ribeye, and I don't know if you can see that, but we're going to zoom in. All right, now that you guys have seen the difference between prime, choice, and select, this is how it gets controversial. About 6 years ago, when we started doing, well, not when we started doing steaks, but I started playing around with steaks, seeing what other people were doing on the internet, I thought, why in the world would somebody put mustard on a steak? That sounds disgusting. I did it. Loved it. I think we did it for like 2 years straight. And you're like, what? Same thing I said. Huh? No way. And what I found out was, if a little goes a long ways, okay? And so we would put just a little bit of mustard on our steaks, and we'd put them on the grill, and I found out like it would just basically make the crust deeper. I think the smoke adhered to it. You definitely did not taste the mustard flavor, but the overall flavor of the steak was just outstanding. Let's fast forward probably 3 years from there. I'm doing burgers on the grill. And I said, man, what way can we enhance this burger? This is the go-to barbecue sauce for our family. It's just a traditional, probably, I'm sure all the grocery store chains have it, Casey Masterpiece Original. Nothing fancy. It's thick, it's smoky, and sweet. Basically how I like my barbecue sauce. So I said, you know what? Let's try this one day. Because it's got everything the grill has that I want to add to my steak. But the sweetness part kind of scared me. Sure enough, I put it on there one day, like 10, 15 years later, we have never wavered. This has been our go-to for as long as I can remember. Before you turn up your nose and turn this video off, comment below and tell me how you like your steaks. Guys, we've seen mayonnaise, we've seen wasabi, we've seen marinated steaks all over the internet. So I'm just curious to see what you guys do as your family gets together and grills out a great steak. All right, guys, so what we have for you today is 2 choice bone-in ribeyes. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this fat on this one is just absolutely incredible. My unprofessional opinion, this is so close to prime, it's not even funny. This came in the same package, and you can see the difference in the fat in the marbling on this one than you can this one. My unprofessional opinion would be this is more a choice. This is what you would normally find in the restaurant. So I'm pretty happy about that. I call dibs on this one. I'm already telling you right now. So how do we season our steaks? Very simple. Barbecue sauce. Like I said, a little goes a long way. I'm telling you what happens. The sugars in this help it caramelize. Oh, I'm telling you, the crust. My wife likes blue cheese on it. I can do blue cheese sometimes, not all the time. Like I said, a little bit goes a long ways. I just use the back of a spoon and just kind of rub it in. I definitely don't want this to be thick. I don't want it to be gloppy, gloopy. Just a real thin layer. It helps the seasoning sticks to it. Almost like, you know, if you used olive oil on your steak. But instead, you're just going to enhance the flavor just a little bit. Little crushed sea salt. I do season my steaks a little bit liberally. I hope you guys got that on film. And once again, my Cavenders. I love this stuff. I'm telling you, it goes on everything. You'll see. Pretty even dusting. If you guys notice, if you go higher, you get a more controlled dusting. Come back in with some fresh cracked garlic. You see my command center's moved over here. A lot of stuff I cook has the same stuff in it. It's good. Good combination. My waistline says so. A little bit of garlic, not a lot. And we're just going to do this to the other side. Next thing we're going to do is start the grill. Get these bad boys on there, and I'll see you outside. All right, guys, so we got our grill set up. And we're going to give you a little overview in just a second about how I like to set up my grill. So probably 75 to 80% of the time when I set up the grill, I'm only putting the charcoal probably on just like a quarter of the grill. It creates an immediate hot spot and allows a cooler side over here to let the steaks rest. We can close the lid or do whatever. I do it for chicken, pork chops, whatever. It's almost like the idea of the exact opposite of indirect cooking. I like to cook it hot and then let it rest. Other people like to bring it up to temperature and then finish it off on the smoke. Just two different ways to do it. We've had our steaks out. You guys see I keep my little trusty hatchet, big wood chunks. We're only cooking 2 steaks. It's not going to take long, so I just like to break them down into manageable pieces. Because once these steaks are on the grill, you're only looking maybe max at 10 minutes. So that's why I keep this handy. You're always going to feel for your flame. As you guys see, I can keep my hand over here all day long, and honestly, it's just not hot. But this joker right here, I mean, that's pretty hot. That's pretty intense. They say about 5 seconds. I can't even keep it over there pretty close to it without burning my hand. That's how you know you got a hot grill. I'm going to put a wood chunk right in the middle. I'm going to cook the steak on one side of the chunk and the other side of the chunk. And the point of doing that is this chunk of wood is eventually going to catch on fire. And I'm not a big fan of the flare-ups. You can get a picture on that without melting the phone. Woo, that bad boy's hot. See, you can already see it's on fire. But when we close that lid, it's going to create that smoke of that nice apple wood that we're looking for. All right, you ready? I hope the sound's on because this is a sizzle we've been waiting for. You ready? Ooh, you guys hear that? Look how thick them steaks are. I think 2 knuckles deep. My butcher, Ron, give him a big shout out, man. He treats me right. If you guys ever get friends with a butcher, you know you got it right then because they're always looking out for you. Hey, man, we got a good cut of meat in. You want some steak, stuff like that? That's how you do it. You guys see all that sizzle? Shout out to Publix too, man. They've always got good meat for me. I've never been disappointed in Publix meat. Matter of fact, I probably get 100%. We're not even going to say 95%. 100% of my steak from Publix. Look, let me show you guys. Let me introduce Nelly to the Instagram world. Hey, baby girl. Look, Nelly knows what's up. Come here. Come here. Look. Watch out. Look, she's already got a ribeye bone from the other day. Somebody told me one time, a neighbor told me, listen, no joke. They said, buddy, if I could just be your dog and get the table scraps that you feed her, I'd be a well-fed man. And I thought about that ever since. Nelly loves when Daddy grills, don't you, honey? Yeah, I get the bones, the rib bones, the pork bones, the ribeye bones. Yeah, yeah. Hey, you can see that the dog has a waistline like her daddy. A little bit wide. That means we eat good, don't it, girl? Yeah. All right, here we go. Back to business. You guys see this flare up? I'm just gonna go ahead and move it. Now that's what I'm talking about, people. You guys see that crust? That's not burnt. That's not nothing like that. That right there is what we're looking for. Man, that crust is so dang good. I'm gonna move my grill over just a little bit. You see that? That's the good thing about this Weber Summit charcoal grill. And this bad boy's like grilling on a dang Cadillac. But don't let it fool you. You can do this on any grill you want to. See, that's more of a cold spot right there. That's why I moved my grill over this way. I could tell what was happening. You guys notice I haven't closed the lid at all because I want those flames. I want those flames to kiss the steak. I don't want it to be overpowering by any means. So what's going to happen, I've seared them, and then my wife loves blue cheese. So what's going to happen, I'm going to end up moving them over here. Remember the cold spot? So we're going to move these over just in a couple minutes, close the lid on them, and let them go for about 5-7 minutes, depending on how hot it actually gets. We can control it with our damper. All the way open, or you can adjust your temperature just like this. Man, look at all that fat. Come here, look at that. Now I ain't talking about you, you'll get it in a minute. Look at all that fat coming out of the bone. You see that? Look at all that. That's how you know you got a good piece of meat, guys. When that fat like that's already come out of the bone. Notice I'm touching it. It's not ready to come off yet. You guys notice when you move meat and it sticks to the grill and you got to yank it and pry it, it's not ready. Ooh, that one's ready right there. Probably because it's over that chunk of wood right there and that flame's hotter. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. There's the underside. So I'm just gonna move it off the grill. I'm gonna go bone side out. Bone side out. The bone helps deflect the heat. Even though it heat up, it helps deflect the heat. So we're gonna go bone side out. Goat cheese. Goat cheese. My wife loves it. She could take a prime steak. She could take the Wagyu beef, the Australian Wagyu, the A5 Wagyu, the Japanese, all that shenanigans, and she'll still put goat cheese on it. I don't know if I can make a steak without goat cheese. I just like to put it on there and crumble it up. Once I close the lid, it's going to soften that goat cheese right up. Heck, if she's going to have some, I want to have just a little bit. I don't like as much as she does. Although you couldn't tell as much as I put on there. All right, we're gonna close the lid. Close the dampers about halfway. So what's gonna happen, that wood chunk in there is just building up, and so is the heat. So now we're creating like an oven effect with the smoke and the charcoal. And we're just let that sit for about 5 minutes and come back and check it. We'll see when it's done. All right, so this is how we like to get our plates ready for our steaks. This is probably about 1/2 of a tablespoon. When you see the numbers on the a stick butter, it's about 1/2 tablespoon. And what I'll do, I'll take my trusty Worcestershire, Liam Perrins is what we call it. I couldn't say that word if I tried. And I'll just do a couple dashes. You're saying, what for? That looks weird. So this is my philosophy. the steak is being cooked from underneath, okay? The top of the steak is only getting indirect heat. Whether you put the lid on it or not, it's still getting some type of residual heat. So when I put the butter on the plate and the Worcestershire sauce, when I take my steaks off the grill, the hottest part of the steak is going to go right on the butter. It's going to immediately melt the butter, and your pores in your meat are open. So what happens is it creates this pan sauce on the bottom of your plate, and as your meat cools, it's absorbing that liquid. You can put it on top, and it can slowly melt and all that stuff in a glob. But what happens is only really the part where the butter melts is getting the fat and the flavor from the butter. The rest of it just drips off into the plate. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about in just 1 second. Them steaks are so close to being done. All right, guys, it's been about 5 minutes. My grill stayed about 400 to probably 415, 425, somewhere right through there. I can't tell you how long it takes for you guys. It depends on how windy it is, how much oxygen it gets, how thick your steaks are, how long you let them rest. I think there's so many variables. I think it would be irresponsible for me to tell you 3 to 4 minutes per side, take them off and they're done. It just doesn't work like that. But I will tell you this, we're gonna try a thermometer. I'm gonna feel it first. To me, that's exactly what I'm looking for. About a medium rare to rare. I always check next to the bone, just for a second. And we're even below rare. We're only at 100 degrees right there. Get into the normal part. It's about 110, which is what I expected. That's always the rarest part. That's why I put that bone facing the coals, because that's going to deflect the heat, but protect your steaks, and that's going to absorb the heat on the other side, which will allow it from overcooking. Just right in the middle. It's about 115 on the bone. And so this steak earlier, the one that got hotter on this side of the grill than this side of the grill, is going to be about done for me. This one's a little bit rare, and that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. It's so hard for me to tell you 3 minutes on one side, 2 minutes on the other. If you can put your hand over it, blah, blah, blah. Man, you guys do you. That's what it's all about. Just make sure you guys got one of these gadgets, because it can save you in the long run. God, look. Just look at that. That bone's caramelized. Pulling away from the bone. I'm gonna put this right over the grill just for a minute to heat it up. Go ahead and show them down here. We're no longer cooking. We're just gonna warm the steak up. I'm gonna take my air vents and just turn it off. What it does is when I close this grill, all those leftover charcoal is in there. Most of it's gonna be reused on my next cook. If you guys just keep your air grates open after you cook, it's literally like burning money. Can't stand it. I don't have enough money to burn. See how much cooler it is now that we've opened the lid? Because it's not that intense. It's building up, I can tell you that. That's what happens. You close that lid, it loses a lot of the oxygen, and it has to pull it from underneath and come out the top. But when you open that lid, all of a sudden it gets that surge of oxygen, and then coals heat up pretty quick. So this is what we do. I'm gonna put my wipes right on the. Ooh. I'm gonna keep this one on here and cut it for you guys, so you guys see what I'm talking about. Now we are gonna let this rest. Let's say 5 minutes. I definitely want them to rest. I'm not gonna cut them to show you guys this great juicy picture. I'd rather have a better steak than to cut it and show you guys a juicier steak. All right, guys, moment of truth. Here we go. So this is the way I like my steaks. I don't know. Oh, God. Look at that. I bet I can impress it down. Look at that. All that juice. Still on top. I'm going to move this to my plate to get that pat of butter underneath it. Create that pan sauce I was talking about. What I would have done when I came in from the grill is I just put the steaks right on here. You could probably see from this one right here. Oh, look at that. That's what look at all that butter melted on the bottom. and the natural juices from the steak. Load these baked potatoes up right here. Those little baked potatoes with sour cream, butter. Hey guys, I just want to say thanks for watching the Charcoal King. If you guys like these videos, please press that subscribe button, hit the notification button, and share it with all your friends. See you.